everybody. Deb and John up in Portland here with Kate Norris and Tom Monroe. You want Tom or Thomas?
Tom's fine.
You've always been Tom to me.
He's Tom, but then his email is Thomas, so it's really
Right?
confusing to people.
Yeah. All right.
Like, who calls him Thomas?
We're going with Tom.
I do actually have a fair amount of people.
Because of your email address.
Yeah, right. We're here at Division Winemaking Company, down in their awesome tasting room, down in Southeast Portland. And it's really fun to do this because, you know, Deb and I both have known these guys and played with the wines at home, different ventures, different this and that for years. And when you talk about people making a difference, especially in the community and the urban scene, and then with the farming and getting the word out on state level and across the river into Washington, these are some key players, you guys. This is some real magic that happens here. And their commitment and what they do and just their love for it is amazing and comes through from everything. And these are two very, very incredible people that are very important to our industry in this state and what's going on and just the wine world at large.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. That feels really good after watching Tom trying to fix the refrigerator while I'm packing up boxes.
On
No task too
refrigeration.
small.
Right?
I'm cleaning up the blood that happened by your hands in the bathroom. Thank you.
And you guys are celebrating 15 years, man.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, last harvest was the 15th vintage.
Wow.
So it'll be the release of the first of those wines will be.
Coming through this year.
Yeah.
This year, man. And as you've grown, it's been interesting to me to see how, I'm going to use the word projects that you've chosen, but you find the farm, you find the fruit, hey, we want to do that, and you bring things together. And then I think about things like, the co-ferment Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, the 50, and like, you guys are so like, you know what, I think this and this, let's just go for it and see what happens. But I think your knowledge of those vineyards and your experience in the wine world and having that connection with the farmers and having to play with you, like that'll play together. I mean,
Well, you brought up tulips.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of practical kind of need for that, but the initial idea that really kind of flipped the switch was the vintage. I did an internship in Burgundy, one of the vineyards that I was like helping pick with the family. There was all these white like rogue vines throughout the whole block, and I was
were just like, it's fine, just put them in. And,
and so I was like, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's Chardonnay. And I'm like, well, what, you don't sort it out? And they're like, well, no. And they're like, actually, the Chardonnay
helps
has
color fix.
Enzymatic parts that helps the color fix.
And also helps with a little bit of the aromatics too, maybe. And what grows together goes together.
So we ran into this back in 2018. We ran into a situation where we had picked the Chardonnay, or the last of our Chardonnay, and some of the Pinot Noir at Johann on the same day. And our press, we jammed it in with as much Chardonnay as we could, and we still had like most of a bin left.
And then we had way too little for
and then we had
48 of
exactly.
Pinot
So we had the last of the Pinot Noir, and we were like, okay, well, together they're enough to fill the fermenter correctly. Apart, we're kind of at this really awkward amount.
Yeah. Do you know what's really interesting about that though is more so than it tasting like Pinot or Chardonnay, that combination in that. So the Pinot is full cluster, the Chardonnay is destemmed. We do pump overs on it, and the proportion that we do, which ends up being about anywhere from 2/3 to 3/4 Pinot, and then the rest Chardonnay, ends up just tasting like Johann Vineyard. Okay. It doesn't actually taste like one grape or the other. It tastes like all of the minerality and all of the coolness and all. It just tastes like if you go to Johann and you look at the soil and you think about what's there and you drink that wine, you're like, just tastes like the vineyard.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Cool.
Yeah, it is a really good vineyard profile, and it screams the dark mineral notes that Johann.
Because there's a little bit of granitic bedrock there.
Speaking of this one,
Yeah.
that sings to come through. I mean, to me, I think the nice part is the Pinot Noirs at Johann. You know, they're right there at the Van Duzer quarter. They get a lot of wind, so the skins can get kind of thick, and the wines they can get structured.
Mm-hmm,
they can get they take a while to settle down. So the Chardonnay helps mellow that a little bit and
lift it.
Yeah, and brings a little bit of lightness to it. That just makes it for a really delicious wine.
And then you tie in the label, which is Camille Chou. She's an amazing local artist. Her husband was one of the first people that worked behind the bar with us at the Southeast Wine Collective. So it's everything is full circle, as it should be.
That's so cool. Wow.
And tulips are my favorite.
And tulips are your favorite.
Yeah, that's not to love.
When I think about, I remember when I first got a hold of some Gemmy, and it was one of the first pet nats, and it was like this. She's wild. Now just be careful, and chilled and everything. And I got it open. And it was like, open it over the sink. Because
we've gotten better at that, but that's also one of those things that you learn over time.
It is. And people would be like, oh man. I'm like, well, I mean, it's literally in the name of, the wine. I'm like, this is just kind of
each year's different,
Yeah.
We've learned to deal with that a little bit. Like, if the pressure's a little high, how long those bottles stay open before we recap them, and you learn even with something that's wild and natural, you learn how to play along with it. So yeah. Actually, the new vintage is getting waxed right now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm the only one who's tried it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's quite good.
It's quite good.
Well, I asked him as we were putting out wine. I'm like, did anyone put any of that wine in the fridge? And he was like, no. Only I have tried it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
I put one in the fridge, and I was like, I wanted to make sure that the disgorgement happened while I wasn't here, and just wanted to make sure it was okay because we have customers who are requesting it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
and I was in Chicago.
Yeah, you were in
sales,
Chicago. Yeah. So I put one in the fridge while I was doing tastings here over the weekend, and we were going to be cooking at my house today. I'm like, oh, this will be nice to sit outside and it was just rocking. It's just delicious.
Well, I can't wait to try my wine later.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not going to say necessarily your influences, but your influence, because you guys are those guys now. When you think about the styles of wine, and you have kind of two different directions, a little bit more old world style, working through the lens of the fruit here, but then apparent back to vineyard expression, you go for that as well. And it's just such an honest and true representation for those who can be out there and, like you said, look at the soil, be out there, taste that, wherever it may be, and it comes through. What would you say are some of those influencers? Some of those, Tom working some time in Burgundy. Kate, you growing up in France. I mean, were there some of those wines those styles that you thought, okay, this is what we want to work with, or is it just something that came through? This is what this vineyard says. This is what this fruit says.
So Tom and I have a rule when we're making wine.
I think I know what you're going to say. That's what I was going to say too.
And so I think, first of all, we've been really lucky in terms of timing in our careers that we've been able to have access to some of the most beautiful places in the world to be able to make wine from. And we've been able to figure out what sings to us from the Pacific Northwest. It's always salty for some reason, always salty. Mm-hmm. But when we are making our wines, then there's a couple things that I think of, and one is when we're sitting down doing our final blends. I always turn to Tom and I say, "Would you drink a whole bottle of this by yourself? Like, would you just finish the bottle happily? Yeah. And if there's any pause between the two of us, like we have to love it." And it has to be something that we would drink no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that is really important. You're making this for other people, and you're making it for yourself, because it's it's messages in a bottle. It's the passing through of stories,
Right.
And it can't skip any of those stages. So it has to be really yummy, and it has to be yummy enough that Tom and I stand behind it.
Yeah.
100%.
And would want to drink it.
And we want to drink it.
And she said that much more eloquently, but like we used to put on and we might even still have it on the website, but we would say, we make the wines we like to drink.
We do make the wines we like to drink.
And that's the simplest summation of
Honest, true,
of
real.
and so when you talk about influences,
we have so many.
Yeah, there are things where like the seed might have been what I was talking about with the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir, but then there are plenty of things that really didn't have any specific influence. It was just when we've been doing this, the like kind of thought pops in the head, or we worked with a site and we're like, wouldn't it be interesting to maybe try this? And so the curiosity has always been and still there. And so each year, and we were just talking about this earlier in the week, each year we do one or two kind of experiments in the winery, and some of those come into life and they become something that we put out in the world.
Some of them are obvious before harvest. Some become obvious during harvest.
Yes.
You just kind of have to be open to the process.
And some of them are like, well, that was fun, but we'll just not do that.
I mean, to be honest, we started trying to play around with skin contact white wines in 2012.
Yep.
And I
well
remember
before that was anything
well before
cool.
well before Instagram, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I remember, that Tom and I trying our first year and being like, oh my God, this is not easy. And so how are we going to continue to test ourselves and push ourselves to make something that we believe in that deserves to be out in the world?
Yeah, the skin contact wine is a perfect example of something that has evolved. We went into it we started literally with making it in one food grade trash can. The brute trash can is about 50 gallons or so. And
then aging it in a half barrel.
In a half barrel. And we did it exactly like we were making a red wine. And sure enough, it structurally was like a red wine, not the same color.
It took about 7 years to be done.
I know, it was a long time. I mean, not quite that long, but it was a while.
It felt like 7 years.
It was bottled, and then it was like maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
And but so through time, the real kind of jump off point even for that wine was when our distributor here in Oregon a few years after that had maybe tried in the old wine bar the first couple of attempts, and we're like, would you guys ever make enough of this so that we could try to something like this that we could try to sell around town?
And then Tom and I looked at each other and we're like, well, how do we deal with orange wine personally in our lives, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, to be honest, I don't drink a lot of it because sometimes I feel that a half glass is enough.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to make an orange wine where a full bottle would make someone happy. And that's where our orange wine comes in. And so that's how, I don't love a wine that I'm like, after half a glass.
Right.
I want it to evolve and to share and for it to open doors. And we laugh, we call that wine baby's first orange.
Yeah.
Baby's first orange.
That it's like, it's like just
It's
delightful.
it's approachable.
It's approachable, and it's just like us. It's our wines.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you guys that this conversation is in that thread, because that's exactly, whenever conversations happen, and it's been this way for years. And when I think about you guys and I think about the wines, it's exactly that. And I know that what you smell, what you taste, and what you care for and what you're into is subjective. I totally get that. But I think because of you guys just putting that, hey, what about this? That didn't work, but we want to do this, but we love it. But it also hits on a wider part of the market. You guys are on the road in like
Yeah,
a lot.
we talk about that with our partners throughout the country, that like we want to be as close to the person drinking the glass as we possibly can, and we're not going to be sitting there with everybody by no means, but it's
if you're
spending time with
interested
the reps, it's spending time with the customers, it's spending time with the consumers, everybody through, you know, that, because we often do put things out into the world that aren't the wines that you may commonly go by in your, like, you know, grocery store or wine store in your neighborhood that you know of from the Willamette Valley, or even a lot of people just know it as Oregon, you know, and they'll be like, oh yeah, Oregon, that's where you buy your Pinot Noir from.
Our ones aren't quite a hand sell, but they kind of are at the same time.
Yeah,
Does that make
it kind of
sense?
depends.
Yeah, it's like they're right in the gray area.
It's
right
a beautiful
there.
sweet spot.
Yeah,
and there are some that clearly more easily walk away on their own, and there's others that, you know, it helps to have a steward or somebody to kind of, you know, showcase it or get it open or put it on a pairing or a glass pour or something like that, where it really gives this. And I mean, that's kind of a good lead in, like the more like intentional wines that, you know, you guys brought up Chenin Blanc, and those Chenin Blanc and Gamay have probably been our most like intentional grapes that we've worked with in our careers, that, you know, were not traditionally known in this region, not even traditionally
known
by consumers.
Because I would say Sauvignon Blanc is also a little less common in terms of presence, but everyone knows what that grape is. So
and I'm, you know, I think most kind of amazed by what happened with Gamay. You know, when Kate and I made the first vintage of Gamay, and you know, in the beginning, there were, I believe, less than 10 vineyards planted with the grape at least in the Willamette Valley. There were less than 5 producers making varietal Gamays.
There was one. So Oregon makes 1% of all the wine in America, and Gamay was less than 1% of that 1%.
Yeah. So it was nothing. I think we even counted it up the second year, and it was like 12 acres or 14 acres or something really, really small. I mean, the only one that you could really even find in a store was Brickhouse's Gamay, and the other ones were all like wine club wines, or you were just kind of blended with Pinot.
And then this year there has been 3 articles to date about Willamette Valley Gamay.
Yeah.
I literally just told my boom. Our work is done.
Well, and it's our
set enough boards and panels and have enough, you know,
bang that drum enough.
Things.
Yeah, exactly. Get Myron out here talking about the foxhole. Eventually it'll happen. So 3 articles this year, and I'm like, feels good.
Yeah, no, it was. You know, we have a wine that's called Lute, and it's not a completely translatable word, but
it means,
you know,
it means a scruffy,
coming like succeeding through the battle.
Yeah, but it means like it's also like a scrappy little battle.
Yeah,
does that make sense? It's not an elegant.
It's not like a war line of people in their trench. No. It's more like you know, it's more like like we roughed it up and I came out on top. And so like
that was a COVID thing, right?
Yeah. Well, and exactly. But we kind of, when we started making that wine, it was 2018, right, or 17?
Okay.
17.
Yeah, and it was when we first really saw momentum, like significant momentum with the Gamays, and people showing a lot of interest. And
it was actually earlier than that, because
it was 17.
17. The labels had changed already. So
yeah. Exactly. And it was one of those things. Oh yeah. We thought about it in 16. It was one of those things where it was like we were finally like not having to beg people to like try it. You know, it was like, oh yeah, and we'll take, you know, our distributors be like, oh yeah, we need more of the Gamay. We need more of that Gamay. You know, and so we were like, cool. And so when we added this Willamette Valley Gamay called Lute, it was kind of a moment. And then, you know.
So I was packing up boxes today, And I have to overnight some wine to Texas for someone who's picking out some wine for their wedding, and they specifically want to serve Gamay in Texas. If that's not change, I don't know what is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's we got Gamay out right here, and I did tastings this weekend, and like every single group took home Gamay, and these were not every group was coming in.
They're not homogenous groups.
They weren't like looking for Gamay.
Sure.
They were just they loved it. And they just thought it was
across the spectrum of human beings. In the tastings this week.
Well, like you said, it is that chillable red. If you want to go that way, it can work in that if you want it to.
Especially this one.
I mean, that has been one of my favorites each year, especially getting into fall and all of those big, that more comfort food, the fire, the this or that. Like that makes me think of harvest. I see the little vineyard guy out in the hills with the donkey and the small cart with the fire on the back. I can feel and smell that vision in there. Is there questions that you had, Nev? I don't want to.
I'm enjoying the conversation. My question, well, one of the things I wonder is, where do you want to go from here?
It's a good question.
You know what? We constantly talk about this. This is a conversation that part of sustainability is not only making sure that you're leaving the world better than you touched it. Part of sustainability is also business sustainability, right?
100%.
So, and if we are unable to have a sustainable business, then what is the work that we did even worth? Something that we've learned is that, this is the most all-encompassing job on the face of the planet.
Wow.
We go from cleaning up Tom's blood in the bathroom today to talking with you to Tom's going to keg up some wine a little bit later. And Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh.
And I packed up some shipments, and then we're probably going to talk to the farmers up at Casson, the people that are helping us farm, and have a conversation before the weekend, before things get really hot.
Yeah.
And then
it's coming.
Coming.
And then we'll meet next week.
But it's the time of year that's not uncommon.
We're getting into mid-July.
Yeah.
And then Tom and I sit down each week and talk about what's next for our business.
Yeah.
And that's a weekly conversation.
Yeah.
And I think what we talked about this week was the fact that owning your space, settling into exactly who you are, and how to do that for the next 15 years. I think that's a big part of our conversation.
Which is a more organic, if I may use the word, approach to, doing it by numbers or some sorts of
there's
things
certainly that component too, because
but they're side by side.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, one doesn't come without the other.
When this was year one, the math was a little less important than it is now, but the question about what is next.
Well, we knew less about the math.
Yes, but we didn't know the marketplace. We didn't know how to figure out an allocation or figure out pricing was very, just kind of looking out there. What is everything else priced at? Is there money made at that level? And kind of piecing it together. But it's definitely, there's more thought that goes into it now. There's more discussions with our partners about, where's the marketplace for wines like this.
And I would say that I didn't getting into this. I know that everybody's careers and everybody's paths and trajectories, there's a lot of change and evolution. I don't know that I could have predicted what has happened
Oh,
to
sure,
wine in the last
sure,
15
sure.
years.
Yeah.
It's
well, clearly
been
not the last few years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
5
yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It's been wild.
Yeah.
So how do we continue to have wine be relevant?
Mm-hmm.
We should go West Bottle so we can talk about the future.
We can talk about somewhere.
I think you got one right
Grab
there.
it.
You know, I have never had any.
Yeah.
That's not any pressure. I keep saying and I'll see out of
There's
something.
some red in the back. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any here.
Well, I was just to say to look at
That's
the bottle.
Oh well.
Yeah.
If you're gonna look at it, you might as well open it.
We actually have a white. I
a
think.
white in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like? How do you stay relevant? How do you continue to evolve in a way that is good for the entire wine industry?
Mm. And you have to have some experience before you begin.
You either have to,
you know,
I
'cause-
think maybe you have experience, or you can just do it completely blindly.
Yeah.
Hope
And
the best.
in that you're referencing, you know, John and I are brand new at publishing, and so we've been learning it as we go, and we've been very fortunate, very, very fortunate. But yeah, and particularly now, you know, of course, I'm older than the rest of you, but particularly thinking about how communication has sped up, you know, and trends go faster, and they're, you know, they come through and they're gone, and
But then you also think about what we do, and what we do is very similar. Sit and enjoy this thing for a while.
right.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Put it in idle.
Slow down
Yeah.
and enjoy it, and take a moment. Take a load off. Like, just don't get precipitated to the next thing. Because all we have is right now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can't live in the future.
No, can't live in the future and can't live in the
Called
past.
present. It's
Yeah.
the gift.
It's
That's
the
why it's
gift.
called the present.
It's the best cliche ever. I love it, but it's also
It's-
very similar.
You bring up a really good thing about the speed at which things move, and this is an industry that has notoriously and historically
Move very
trailed
slowly,
and
yes.
slowly, and but it's
Been
also
behind,
the kind of
yes.
like it's part of the way it's based. Like like a wine has to be planned for almost a year in
Oh,
advance,
yeah.
and then it's a year after or more before it's really ready. I mean, yeah, like maybe a few months can be shaved here or there, but you know,
It's not nimble.
We're thinking about 2026 right
Right.
now,
Sure.
Yeah.
not and so sometimes the way things like in a fad or what's in style or communication moves quicker than wine can actually physically move.
And how in a world where how do we appreciate this thing that's not nimble,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that doesn't operate on the same wavelength as other things? Where does it fit still?
I think
It fits.
It fits.
It fits.
And I think about that a lot, that, wine and cider are running. You got one shot a year.
Yeah.
You got one shot a year.
Yeah.
That alone sets a bit of the tone. And not just from, the agricultural component, but that sets the thing about it. The beer guys, they can fix it
They can
pretty
fix it.
pretty quick.
Well, and I have joked with beer friends before. I'm like, well, if you guys really screwed up, you can, put it down the drain and start tomorrow again. And that is never a possibility for
No.
us.
Yeah.
And, we're waiting another year, and there's the investment level per batch or whatever per wine.
But then if you think about beer, then the fact that they are able to do it so quickly is the reason why the cult beer has got so big so fast, because they're able to do these
They
fun
can do
little
that.
recipes
Yeah,
and
they can
fun
try
Let's
new
put spices in
collabs
it. Yeah, let's
and
do
so
yeast. Let's
so,
do this.
so
Let's do
they've
that.
leaned
Yeah.
into that in a way that I think is actually pretty cool.
It is very
yeah.
It is very
And it surpassed wine in terms of its flexibility. They leaned into their flexibility. How do we lean into our not flexibility? And how is that still delicious?
The challenge beer has now gone through as things go up and go down as quickly, and then there's a beer that have found itself being the coolest thing one moment, and
Isn't
the next
anymore.
moment they're like, oh, and what do we do? What do we do next? And wine has definitely had we talked about skin contact wines and, you know, fresh, you know, chillable wines. These things have all kind of come into fashion during our time in our career in this. And, you know, I've talked about several, you know, of our customers, and is there will be things that come and go in wine and that, you know, kind of, you know, rock it up. But and there will also be things that come in that'll stay.
Yeah.
And they might not be as explosive as they were in the very beginning, but they will find a spot in the marketplace.
Sure.
But then also, technically, the things that find the spot in the marketplace are things that have been around for a really long time. So for me, skin contact whites is what had replaced rosé in the United States very quickly, almost like the replacement of Facebook by Instagram. Does that make sense? It's like rosé came on the scene in the United States, and
Which
then
took a long time for America to start drinking.
And then once we
things.
started drinking it, it took us 5 years to decide on to the next. And I mean, certainly there is still rosé drink, but the boom is not like it was. But skin contact wines are here to stay. Chillable reds are here to stay because guess what? People have always chilled their reds. Like it's kind of a fact.
Yeah.
You know, these are not new. They're just kind of new to us.
And the canned wine, the keg wine situation, which you know, I'm a fan. I've been a fan of the keg wine situation for a long time. You know, it's more sustainable for everybody, financially,
awesome.
Environmentally.
It's infrastructurally is the challenge.
And but somehow doesn't make.
equipment.
Yeah, and also for me, the keg wine, just the infrastructure aspect, we are able to send kegged beer around the world. Why can't we figure out a way to send kegged wine around the world? That's been a little bit of a hang up too. So
Scale.
I'm going to grab that bottle of West.
And seeing the different versions of, you know, the bags, bag in the box or just the bags, you know.
I think there's a lot of we keep discussing that. There's only so many projects you can kind of work on.
Well, sure.
Kate's going to bring over our kind of newest project, but the bag in the box is something that we have discussed for several years, and we have
Better part of 2 decades.
Yeah, that we have looked at on several occasions, and really do think that there will be a permanent good spot that isn't just like the Franzia or the Boda Box kind of level wine, but more, you know, more artisan products, more wines that you know.
Didn't Evsham Wood do some?
He
give it a shot,
yeah.
Tempranillo and all, right?
Yeah.
He's back, 20 years ago. So I'm laughing. So this is the label, and this is what you told me to get out of the fridge.
Well, I didn't remember this. This was a bad label, so I use it as the sample.
I'm just laughing at it.
I love the spelling of West, or, you know, the use of that version of West.
It's, and we say it on the back also, how to pronounce it. A lot of people call it Quest based on the.
Yeah, that's what I
way.
was going to say.
But you know what? To be honest, I kind of feel like you call it whatever the hell you want to call it.
Oh, I see. It's not a Q, it's an O.
Yeah.
It's a no, yeah. Don't hand over the non-crazy looking one.
So this, you know, this is right in line with what our history has had, but in a new direction that was outside of any of our historical inspirations.
Okay.
So, you know, so Kate and I went to school in Beaujolais together, and we lived in the Loire Valley, and there was time in Burgundy and the Rhône, and those things were really the foundational part of really the first decade of the winery. And our experience working with Chenin Blanc and some Gamay in the Columbia Valley, you know, over a decade, you make relationships.
Yeah.
You're constantly going back and forth, so you see things, and then around the pandemic timing, a couple of things were happening. You know, one was Chateau Saint Michel was making a retreat in Washington, and so there was a lot of really like great family vineyards that had now excess capacity.
We were lucky enough the diversification of what we do in the cellar and the grape varieties we work with is something that's just naturally part of what we do. But if you imagine with the 2020 fires in the Willamette Valley and the fear over not knowing exactly what was going to happen with our grapes, that it allowed us to lean in even a little further to
that's
what we had already
really
established.
Started experimenting heavily in that.
With Washington fruit. And also, I think that we had hit a point in our career where we started to tell each other we celebrate the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And that's like it's and I know that our winery is located
We
in
had stuff in
Portland.
Southern Oregon, we had Willamette, we had Umpqua, Gorge, some, and then a little bit in the Columbia Valley.
Out to the Rocks District.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Red Mountain area, and I think that, a lot of people. There's a couple ways to approach wine. One is like having your one plot of land that's right behind your house, and that's what you specialize at. And Tom and I think we looked at this and we're like, we just love the Pacific Northwest.
We do.
And we love living here. We love the wines from this region. And they're so incredibly diverse. So let's lean into that.
Which is a blessing, One of the things I think is great about this conversation is people are really going to get a sense. For those who haven't met you guys or talked to you guys before or been at a tasting with you there.
Thank you.
When I think of, how, when you read the stuff about, business coaches or this or that, or following, your business ADHD, or don't do this, don't do that, or whatever it goes in. And as we were talking about the organics and that slow and that steady and that substantial steps and getting that, because I think, fast is pretty and fast is this, but fast isn't gonna stay.
Yeah.
Take your time with it. Those things that are true and real take time, and the things that take time are the most wonderful things. But I just think how you guys collectively think, individually, collectively, what goes on, the teams that you've had, through the winery, which is not big. Like when you think about the fact that you're saying, we've got vineyards in both states and spreading, so the Northwest. And when you guys know how big this team is, which isn't much more than these two.
It's just three of us. Seth's our assistant winemaker's in Thailand right now.
I mean, it's pretty amazing what comes out, how it comes out, but it's just your way of thinking and just your awesome spirit and soul.
What are the grapes in this again?
So this would not happen without having another person that has helped us. We started a relationship with an organic viticulturist who lives in Natchez in the very western part of the Columbia Valley, kind of going up the flanks of Mount Rainier. Yeah. And when I mentioned some of the retreat of Chateau Saint Michel, this was an opening for this gentleman, Phil Klein, to help other families who are looking to diversify their vineyard sets and to find new ways. And so, there was conversions to organic farming and, new plantings or grafted plantings. And that was just like one little pocket, so that kind of making those relationships with people like that. And, we've had one with Quaddy in Southern Oregon. Those have helped enable us to do certain things like this that it would be extremely challenging to do on our, we just wouldn't know everything.
But at the same time, what Herb has done in Southern Oregon and what Phil has done in Natchez Heights is create a community, right? They've literally created a way for smaller farmers to have the support network that they need to do the things that they want to do in the vineyards, knowing that they can have the grapes will sell and that they'll have support and that they can all grow together. And so
and I'm glad you used the word community. It's one of our buzzwords because we believe in that. And for me, there are still some people that see the wine world as kind of snobby or off-putting or elitist or something. And for me, it's always been, I see it through the agricultural lens. Like you said, the storytelling and the this and that, and it's the community and the small farmers who just want to grow it. And here's the story to be told. And everything that is in that, in each bottle, that's a something. It's not just pinkies up in this and the points and the whatever, and no, man, there's a real connection. This is a real completion and conduit.
Our basis, and we really got into this. We're in the Loire Valley and Beaujolais, and there was no pinkies up, and there's no,
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was
I have
no
to think about
snobbery of wine. It was just, pretty humble people sitting around a table, like enjoying a family meal together, a friend's meal.
Big
and-
barrel in the room with a water glass.
Yeah, and friends from their different wines.
Ripping the
and-
capsules off and
Exactly.
throwing them away so they didn't count towards taxes and
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of basically that, and that was the impetus for the Division Village wines was just the ripping the capsule off and hanging out with your friends. There was always a thought that this idea that the wine is elite has been propagated by maybe the most famous components of American history, in wine, where it's a very well-known and high-regarded restaurant, and there's, a very famous Napa winery, or a very famous Burgundy winery, or Bordeaux winery, whatever it is, and of course it exists. But the predominance, in fact, by far the majority of wine is simple, humble, and it's community and friend-driven.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have never actually read a book about the history of American wine.
neither have I.
But it occurs to me
I
that
did give her John Benet's book.
yeah, I did read John Benet's book.
The New California.
The New
Yeah.
California, yeah.
But I'm just thinking that when you think about that pinkies up kind of deal and exclusivity.
The screaming eagle of wines,
Exactly, and somehow this mystique, and then it's priced so it makes it, kind of out of the way for
most people.
regular people to
man.
purchase. I'm so glad that we have moved away from that into, this is something, like you said, if you go to any other winemaking region in the world, people are going to be sitting on the back steps with a glass in their hand, and
It's
so
usually about one this tall.
Yeah,
this tiny.
And no stem.
Very
because
good.
that's
Right.
dangerous.
Yeah.
It's silver water like
glass in their hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom's from Missouri, and there's a wine growing region south of St. Louis that's heavily Germanic in influence, and the wines are not polished by any stretch of the imagination, but they are made because that's what those people make, right?
Yeah.
Like it's part of
Right.
how their
there.
community, and I always would be people that people would throw their nose up at it, and I'm like how could you? This is
Yeah.
part of the. This
Yeah.
is
And those
Part of their-
businesses have sustained for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
now.
and
Yeah.
making quote unquote sweet wine too, which everyone's like sweet wine. I'm like, it's American. We like apple pie. Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
everybody likes sweet things.
And we're
You everybody loves sweet wine. They just do. So at the right time in the right place, right?
I think about one of the times we came up, and it might have been that day we got all the lardo, but somebody had
Oh,
brought
yeah.
in that wine from, was it Arkansas? Or
Yeah.
it was something
Yeah,
something
like that.
crazy like that.
Yeah.
That was
Oh yeah, well, wineries all over.
everywhere.
Everywhere, and
Yeah.
but then you think about that, and then you think about the model of it being then so prestigious when it's actually just meant to have with dinner.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so we and
Or an
America.
afternoon on
Or,
the porch.
Right.
or for brunch. I mean, I love
We're
mimosas.
at-
I do. There's nothing not to love. But also but I also think that America is a relatively young wine enjoying society and
100%.
region, and we're still figuring it out. We're
Yeah.
still trying to figure out where wine fits for us. And so it's kind of exciting to be part of this really rapidly changing landscape while we're I feel that wine has become more of a part of people's lives in the last 20 years than it ever was before in the US. But maybe that's because I'm not that old, but old. I don't know.
And your
I
guys'
feel like it's
price
more
points,
important.
you have some you have, those special vineyards, those special, there's the special years and special bottles, and you have, those higher tier wines that they have to be, they're that, the fruit, they're this, they're that. But on the whole, people can get a hold of your wines, especially the Village, range. I'm like, people can get in there, but even in all through, and they can really get a sense of that. And
With the West wines that we were showing you the labels for, my rule with this one is it's a $20 bill. And I was like, and that's not nothing. $20 is still a lot of money, but one $20 bill, not breaking into a second bill of money, like that feels doable, right? To people that want to be into wine. That's a doable price.
And it's that shared thank you. You know, the customer is saying thank you, and you're saying thank you to them. And then, of course, like you said, then we'll get into the math of, well, how many of those do we have to sell at the $20 bill?
Right,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
I was just going to say, I imagine we need to be wrapping this up because you have a party this afternoon, right?
I have to get ready for some events this afternoon.
Events, yeah.
And then Tom has
Kegging.
Kegging. But this has been so delightful to sit down together.
One more.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
we have a little more time.
Yeah.
I have until like 11:15, 11:30. I have like hard stop. I have to be out the door at 11:30.
I have two things.
Okay.
One, is there anything that you guys would like to say
Yeah,
that
what
didn't get said, or if there's something that didn't get touched upon?
Well, I mean, you know, we're very reflective this year because we're celebrating, you know, 15 years, and so there has been lots of thoughts about the future, and so, you know, it's been a very complicated time for, you know, the wine industry the last couple of years, and I guess I would say just keep supporting wineries like us and the ones you love, and keep getting out and tasting and sharing experiences with your friends and your loved ones. The folks, like, it's not just us, there's so many more, but the people like us who put a lot into this appreciate every moment that you spend with one of our wines and with one of us, and so.
Yeah, and thank you to both of you for taking the time and the platform to elevate things that are made and that are eaten and enjoyed and shared and grown. And we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't be alive without those things.
Yeah.
Even if we're eating them in, like, I don't know, a protein bar, they had to be grown somewhere, I guess. Not the most enjoyable way to eat in my mind, but, you know, to each their own. Yeah, no, it's an honor. Like, as Tom was saying, it's like to be chosen to be brought into someone's house in the form of a bottle. I think it's huge. It makes me cry every time. Like, it's It's and there's a lot of us that are trying to do the same thing. And there's a lot of wine in the world, maybe sometimes a little too much. But that'll figure itself out. Sure. But this no bad story ever started. I opened a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
I just know that for a fact.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Maybe a court case or maybe some jail time.
No, that's mostly the hard
Probably
liquor
the
or a case of beer. For the most part, we opened a bottle of wine. Doesn't end that badly. Yeah.
One statement and then one last question, and we'll get out of here. When I thought about the idea of bringing Edible Portland back, and when I thought about the relationships that I had and the people I knew and the stories to tell, when I thought about that, you guys were clear in my vision and my mindset for that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure when we're going to get to the this and the that's, but we're going to figure it out, and everybody's busy and doing things because you guys are a small, true, get it done team. But it is because of you guys and what you have done over the past now 15 years. It's like, this is something, and these are the people why, and this is why I think this, you know, this all works together, and we're all in it together. You know?
Portland is such a special place.
Such a special place.
And the best thing and the hardest thing for Portland is we have our downs and our ups here. But that's what I think continues to make it accessible to people to enjoy and to discover. And this town doesn't get played out, you know?
No.
There's always a new thing around the turn here.
Yeah.
We get in our own way a little bit, and then we get out from underneath ourselves. But this town has a little loot to it. It has a little fight to it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
has a little
Oh,
loot
yeah.
to
That's a
it.
good way to say it.
Yeah, and I really believe in this town. I love it here.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
One thing we do is we ask the question, what's something about you that people may not know that you want to share? Now, I can think of one that I know, but I'm not going to ask you guys to go
I'm
there.
a pretty open book, so I don't really know if there's anything about me that some people.
We've had everything from
know.
I was Chuck E. Cheese to punk rock band. To
Oh well,
all kinds of
we're
stuff.
kind of open books about the music part.
Yeah.
All right, you first.
No, I don't.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Okay.
It's just like something fun.
I am. Most people know that I didn't grow up here, but I think this is especially important to say these days. I am a first-generation immigrant to the United States, and the daughter of a person of color.
Yeah.
And this country is built on people like me that
Yeah.
work really hard
Absolutely.
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 Indeed.
Yeah.
100%.
across the spectrum.
Across the
And you never know when you're going to run into one of us.
Yeah.
Very well said, Kate. And in this time when we are feeling immense pressure against the immigrant community who supports this industry, like
Oh
it's
gosh.
an anchor
Mind-boggling.
point to our,
Yes.
it is mind-boggling. It is beyond unfortunate.
It's not even unfortunate, it's just wrong.
It's wrong.
It's just wrong.
It is wrong.
Flat out wrong.
The backbone of America before even the people that have largely come from Mexico and Central America that support our agriculture and
I mean, we were just talking about the German.
we're from other places and this country would not be here. I mean, I wouldn't be like here if at one point there's always been immigration, always been a part of this place, and we are doing ourselves a disservice by turning our heads to
And I should backtrack. This is not even our land.
yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
mean,
And it's
where
not.
do you want to start with
Yeah.
immigrant?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because John
it
often
wasn't my
says,
little Scotch-Irish ass, I
Yeah.
can tell you that.
It is a
I wasn't here.
it is an honor and a privilege to be here, built on the backs of so much loss, and we can all do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave it something a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Most people don't know about me. When I was about 13 years old, I went to go visit my cousins and aunt and uncle who lived in Los Angeles, and my uncle, who was the president of the Coca-Cola in California.
Okay.
I guess they were a sponsorship. They had a sponsorship with Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Wow.
and I got to go be a Klingon extra for a day on the show.
I didn't even know this.
Fun is best.
So they had like makeup and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
How's your Klingon these days?
It's a little
Is
rusty.
your Vulcan a little better? Does Barnaby know this? Oh my goodness.
True.
You've been holding out.
He does now. Or in a few days.
Well, cheers, guys. Thank
Cheers.
you for
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
for your efforts.
Kate,
Oh,
Tom.
you as well.
Cheers. All right, guys. Thank you, Dean, back there. You guys, this is a fun one. Come down, get online, get on the horn, through the gram, get a hold of these guys. They do tastings on the weekends.
No, we actually just do by appointment. So
Just by
whenever
appointments.
you taste with,
By
it's
appointment, yeah.
just with Tom or
We have
me.
some events that can get
Yeah,
out
we have
for
some
it,
parties
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be some parties for the 15th
Division
anniversary.
Division Winemaking Company down here, Southeast Industrial, fun, good stuff. Some really rad people, and they're surrounded by rad people, and that's what life's about: popping corks and having fun, and just celebrating life and each other. So, thank you, everybody. We'll see you out there. Peace and water, y'all. All right, take care.
Does this have Sauvignon in it?
A little bit.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And then
Enough that it's
look, I just